Turkey and Venezuela signed a set of bilateral cooperation agreements within the framework of the President Nicolás Maduro tours of Asian countries. The Summit of the People's Space for Integration and Unity of all Americas, where the voices of excluded will be heard. The World Health Organization reported over 1,000 monkeypox cases from 29 countries. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The government of Turkey and Venezuela signed a set of bilateral cooperation agreements within the framework of the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro's tour from countries in Eurasia. At the end of their meeting, the President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and Türkiye President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a press conference in the city of Ankara. In the meeting with media, the Venezuelan president explained that the bilateral agreements cover the areas of tourism, agriculture, and finances. Maduro also described the visit to a Eurasian country as a success, both for its content and for the climate of friendship and closeness between both nations. In this context, the Venezuelan head of state invited President Erdogan to pay a visit to Caracas and thanked him for the solidarity shown during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Because in the most difficult and uncertain moments of the coronavirus pandemic, Türkiye was always there by our side to support us in all the necessary processes for health and to overcome the pandemic as we have managed to face it. Those years 2020 and 2021, years of difficulty, with the exemplary character of the friendship between Türkiye and Venezuela, was demonstrated once again.
The Venezuelan president also emphasized that in his countries there are favorable conditions for Turkish companies to invest in.
It is the moment. I have told the president, I have told the investors, it is the moment for Turkish investors in Venezuela for tourism, mining, industry, logistics, banking, oil, gas, gold, coal, for Turkish investment in Venezuela. It is the moment. There are all the legal, political, economic guarantees, all the guarantees to go to a process of expansion in the relations between both countries.
For his part, the President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, highlighted cooperation between the two nations during the most difficult moments.
Venezuela, as we know, is a very important partner, our most important partner in Latin America and the Caribbean. And we will never forget the solidarity it has shown to Türkiye during July the 15th, and Venezuela was one of the countries that supported our government during the coup attempt, and we have also supported Venezuela in different areas. So we already know that we are friends in bad times, and we have an exemplary friendship.
The Turkish president stressed the leadership of President Nicolás Maduro facing the U.S. siege against Venezuela.
It is an exemplary friendship, and despite all the blockades, sieges that Venezuela is having, the strong and brave leadership of Mr. President has been very successful. My dear friend, He has made a very important struggle, like Simón Bolívar and Hugo Chávez, for the independence of his people.
The Prime Minister of Peru, Aníbal Torres, denounced in a rally on Tuesday that Congress is still pulling with media groups to remove the President Pedro Castillo from power. The Prime Minister said stabilization attempts against the government continue, and he questioned the intentions of Parliament to blame the President for third-party errors. The Prime Minister reiterated the importance of stopping destabilizing actions and of making citizens aware of the existence of such plans. According to the minister, such plans are underway in the country, but also in other Latin American nations that have been victims of ultra-right movements.
Unfortunately, there is a plan. There is evidence that there is a plan. A political plan, a media plan, a fiscal and judicial plan to discredit, to remove the democratically elected president. Either we are in favor of democracy or we are against democracy. Those who want to take the power should simply run in the elections and not go outside of the Constitution in order to try to win the government of the Republic.
TeleSUR expands the signal with new satellite parameters since more than ever the world connects to us and our stories are being heard all around the world. These parameters are in place since June the 1st in Latin America and the Caribbean, both in Spanish and in English, and quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signal in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. This new multi-platform will continue providing trustful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our full fitness to our audience. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. The People's Summit is held in the United States, a Latin American meeting space that runs parallel to the Summit of the Americas. This forum brings together more than 200 representatives of communities, organizations, social movements, unions, and progressive forces of the region. The Community Technical College in the city of Los Angeles was the chosen venue for the first presentation called Democracy for a Home, and according to whom the People's Summit seeks to give voice to millions of people who are often excluded from the dominant office space narrative, as this case happened with the Ninth Summit of the Americas, where the U.S. government decided to exclude the peoples of Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. The president of Argentina, Alberto Fernández, arrived in the United States to participate in the Summit of the Americas, taking place in the city of Los Angeles. President Alberto Fernández explained that in addition to representing its country at the Summit of the Americas, he will also leave a message as President pro tempore of a community of Latin American and Caribbean states, CELAC. The head of state considered that the meeting organized in Los Angeles lost strength with the absence of President of Mexico, Bolivia, and other Latin Americans and Caribbean countries due to the exclusion of Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua from the meeting. Fernández affirmed that he will take advantage of this platform to advocate for united Latin America without exclusions. During a speech before representative of the Cuban Social Society, President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez announced the discriminatory manner of the Ninth Summit of the Americas organized by the United States and the insufficient regional representation of the meeting.
the U.S. government organized the 9th Summit of the Americas in the city of Los Angeles with discriminatory participation and insufficient regional representation. For Cuba, the exclusion was not only against the government, but also against the representatives of civil society and social actors, including our youth.
The Union of Land Workers in Argentina carries out a new verdurazo or vegetable rally to demand the approval in Congress of the law of access to land. The legislative project promoted by the UTT, representing small traders and families, farmers from all over the country, was presented for the first time this year before Congress. The farm workers not only demand access to land, but also cleared and concrete policies for the family farming area. The union points out that only 13% of the land is in the hands of small producers who cultivate more than 60% of the foods that circulates in the domestic market, while 1% of the agricultural companies control 36% of the cultivated land in the country. The event took place in the iconic Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov confirmed his country's willingness to hold a meeting on Turkish territory with Ukraine and United Nations to alleviate the situation with world grain export distribution. The Russian diplomat made a statement at a press conference held before a meeting with the Turkish counterpart Mevlut Cavusoglu. Foreign Minister Lavrov also referred Moscow's readiness to hold additional talks in Istanbul, expressed satisfaction at the interest of the United Nations to participate in them. On the gathering held with his counterpart in Ankara, Lavrov said Russia and Turkish military discussed the process of the mining Ukrainian ports to block grain exports. To date, Kiev has not issued any statement on the matter, that none of the parties involved has made contact with Vladimir Zelensky's administration. The Russian government denounced that Western sanctions are preventing the delivery of Russian grain. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Russian President Vladimir Putin declared that in order of the volumes of Russian grains to be delivered to the international market, it is necessary to change the relevant sanctions which were imposed and which affect the insurgence of ships and the ban of the entry of Russian ships into European ports. Peskov also recalled the process of negotiations between Moscow and Kiev in Türkiye, focused mainly on the exports of grain. In this connection, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov announced his country's readiness to cooperate with Ankara in exporting grain by sea. We have more news coming up after this final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The World Health Organization reported over 1,000 monkeypox cases from 29 countries. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom said in a briefing that so far no deaths have been reported in those countries. The World Health Organization chief stressed that this outcome was avoidable if countries work to control the outward spread of monkeypox through the identification of cases and possible contact. Many of the cases that have been detected in the U.S. have been found among patients who recently traveled internationally. After the outbreak in the West began, some international observers criticized the apparent double standard of concern over monkeypox, a disease that has affected Central and West African countries for decades. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the world is facing the dangers of a unprecedented wave of hunger destitution. Guterres stressed that no country will be left out of this crisis that affects the cost of living of all people. He also pointed out that the food prices are near historic highs and fertilizer prices have more than doubled, and that shortages will extend to all crops, including rice, and a devastating impact of billions of people in Asia and South America. For the UN, the main consequences of the critical war situation are the high electricity rates, which generate blackouts and food shortages at a global level, especially in Africa. The Secretary General added to the list the financial situation affecting many developing countries, in addition to the risk of debt default and the economic collapse generated by the COVID-19 pandemic, the equivalent of recovery and the climate change. One person was killed and at least thousands others injured when a car drove into a group of people at a busy shopping district in central Berlin, Germany. The driver was driven seen by passersby before being headed to police after the car smashed through a shop from, according to a policeman. Till locals. It was not clear whether the clash was intentional. The accident happened around 10:30 a.m. local time, just across from Becherspad, where a Islamic State group sympathizers plunged a truck through a Christmas market in 2016, killing 12. Around 130 emergency personnel were deployed to the scene, where several people were seriously injured and some were left by helicopters for treatment. The government of Algeria announced the immediate suspension of the Treaty of Friendship, Good Neighborliness and Cooperation with Spain and signed in October 2002 for admitting itself with a position of Western Sahara. The decision of Algeria comes after the president of the Spanish government, also known as Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, appeared before the Congress and announced a change of position before he expressed his support to the proposal of Morocco from autonomy over the West Sahara. The government of Algeria qualified as unjustifiable the change of position of the part of Spain and affirmed that it violates the international legality imposed on it by the condition of the administrative power. Likewise, they affirmed that Sanchez's announcements disqualify the efforts of the United Nations out of the Special Envoy for Western Sahara, Stefan de Mistura, and contribute directly to the degradation of the situation in Western Sahara and the region. Now, shifting topics, this Wednesday, a 6.5 earthquake was recorded 108 kilometers southwest of the municipality of Tarauca, located northwest of the state of Acre in Brazil. According to the U.S. Geological Service, the earthquake happened at about 8 hours 55 minutes local time, and it was located at a depth of 616.2 kilometers. According to the Metsul Meteorological Company, it originated at a distant depth. That's why it did not have devastating consequences on the surface, and no material damage has been reported so far. Meanwhile, the Euro-Mediterranean Seismological Center said the earthquake's depth was 612 kilometers, located in the epicenter 366 kilometers east of Pucallpa in Peru. Heavy rains in central China's Hunan province left 10 people dead and 3 remains missing, according to local authorities. Also, the rainfall left almost 1.8 million people homeless. Over 2,700 houses collapsed or were severely damaged, and about 286,000 people were evacuated in the province. The province issued an emergency disaster relief response and has distributed tens of flooding beds and other supplies in affected areas. Temporary assistance funds and supplies were issued to mitigate the impact of the rain. The heavy rain has affected almost the entire province, with some monitoring stations according to record rainfall levels. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. But before our words, we say goodbye with a song of Es Nuestra América, It's Our America, performed by Mayito Rivera with Alexander Jose Gil Dominguez, Hijo del Sur, and Achilles Rengifo, Angeline, a melody that celebrates our union as a continent. TeleSUR English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.
Un canto por la América Unida. Mira, que lo escuchan allá arriba. ¡Vamos! Somos la tierra, somos la arcilla, la esperanza que brota y germina. 500 años nos han pisoteado, aquí seguimos, de aquí no nos vamos.